Hi everybody, welcome to Highland Hedgehog Farm. It's mid-March and we are out doing some spring garden cleanup, getting ready for the majority of our plants which will go in next month in April. But some of our cool weather crops get to go out this time of year, things like brassicas, and it's a perfect day for us to do those types of transplants because it's overcast and a little bit rainy, so they'll have a minute to get acclimated with less transplant shock. So let's take you on a tour of the garden and show you what we're doing. So this may look very different than the last video we did, and it looks like we're kind of walling ourselves in with Agribon row cover. But because it is wet and rainy, we've taken them off all of the hoops that were covered and we're letting them dry out along the fence. We don't have cold enough temperatures to kill anything at this point that we have out here. So we've taken them off and are going to start really truly planting. Along this bed we've got Brussel sprouts here at the end. These get pretty large, so we put them at the end, and we're not sure how they're going to do this year because we haven't had a huge success with Brussels sprouts in the past. But we're going to try them. But they get really large, so we put them at the end so that our cauliflower and broccoli and kale can be covered back up with this Agribon once the cabbage butterflies start coming in, because those were a real problem this past year. So we want to make sure that we get some protection on these plants, just a real light cover to keep them out and keep them from laying eggs. So that there is our Brassica bed. It's about 35 feet long, probably about, I'd say about 50 plants.
If we're successful with the Brussels sprouts here on the end, they'll get to be about this tall. And then the cauliflower is going to be about this big around, each one of these, as is the spinach.
Broccoli.
I'm sorry, broccoli.
And this is, we have Romanesco and purple broccoli.
And then we have spring kale, and we have Siberian kale here.
And then this bed, you've all seen this end of. This is our different types of lettuces here, and these have been going since October when we put them in, and then we covered them in November, maybe December. So they've gone all through the winter. They've given us 2 salads a week, 2 big salad, dinner-sized salads a week between the lettuce. This here is spinach, and this here is arugula. Arugula gets really big, but it's really tasty. But what you haven't seen is the beets that also went all winter. That's this whole section here.
These were planted by seed.
These were planted, yeah, they were seeded in October, and they went all winter, and these should be our earliest beets that we'll get. These will give us some nice beets in probably 2 or 3 weeks here, so definitely by the end of March. And then next we have kale, and if you look, the kale did amazing under there over the winter, so we now have plenty of kale we can pull up. And there's actually 3 different types here. The one in the center is a little hard to see, but that's a really dark red kale that we really like. And then there's some on the other side as well. So 3 different types of kale. And then down here we have, again, we planted last year, and not all of them did as well as they could have, but we have carrots, and this whole bed was planted on the same day. So these are going to be our early carrots. They went all through the winter, just slowly growing. And I believe there's 3 rows in here. Maybe some more.
June.
What?
By June?
Yeah, by June we should have them. There might be some more that'll come up in this area because carrots are super slow and they're just little ones everywhere. And you can see how much drier it is under the Agribon than it is right outside the Agribon. That's where the line was. So, and then you can see over there all our garlic and all of that. And then this bed we had here under a little bit of cover. These are actually seeds that went in, I think we planted them in December, so very late. and then immediately covered them up. And they're all seeds that got wet somehow.
Really wet.
Really wet. So they sprouted a little bit, and we said, well, I don't want to throw them away, so we're just going to throw them in the ground and see what happens, because we had plenty of space in the garden. So there's arugula, there's lettuce, and there's spinach. And as you can see, you know, obviously not every row fully came up, but considering this was just ground that was going to be barren all winter long, we got some good growth out of it for barely any work.
There's
so
a couple of salads in
yeah, at least a couple salads in this section. And here you can see our kale that went uncovered through the winter. So it didn't do as well as we wanted it to. We had some really cold nights, but that's just discolored. It still feels like kale. And in the center of a lot of plants, they're starting to grow again. Like this is good little kale leaves here coming up. So this went uncovered all through the winter.
We'll cut those off and give it to the chickens, the damaged leaves.
Yeah, we'll cut off the damaged leaves, and those will go to the chickens for extra chicken food. And all of the garlic will come out in June-ish, about when it should be ready. That also went in October, and that'll free up all of that bed space, basically 3 whole beds. And then last but not least is this little area. We had some beets that we started indoors in the Charles Dowding multi-sow method. And these we just transplanted out today along with the brassicas that we were talking about earlier. And then we have a little section that looks like it's empty, but about 2 weeks ago in the middle of February, I planted a whole bunch of lettuce, some arugula, turnips, those types of things. And we're starting to see the little guys come up. So
it's been very cold, so they're very slow.
This section should start coming up very soon and be just as prolific as the rest of it. And then the last bit I wanted to show you was our winter propagation bed here and how we did this. Now, we made a big order from Edible Acres, and he sent us, these are, if you can see the sticks right here, these are little hazelnut bushes.
And they're sprouting. Look at.
Are they?
Oh yeah, they've got buds on them.
Awesome. They've got little buds.
Yeah.
Then in the pots here, because we weren't sure where we want to put them, and we know once we put them in, you never get them out, are sunchokes. Then all of these little sticks here are elderberries and currants. So this whole section, our plan is to use the currants in our back 4 acres, which is woods. And get some currants growing back there. And then the elderberries are going to go up front. And then over here we have Jerusalem artichokes. That's what's in this area. So those will be coming up, and we'll be putting them around various places as well.
Those 2 beautiful women.